Hello drivers, cyclists, and otherwise mobile viewers. Segwayers, it's Jethro. So as you no doubt could notice, I'll be biking today. Seems to be the thing that the cool kids are doing. Yeah, Jesse. Just sneaking through the laundry room here. Oh look, here's my bike. So a little bird told me that I shouldn't bike on Chicago streets, but I didn't exactly trust the bird. Could you see it was a pigeon, and then it proceeded to fly in front of the city trains? I'm just in the park right now, and there's hardly anybody here, so I'm not too worried about being that dangerous. I guess what I wanted to talk about today was about what I do, which is psychology. And in psychology, you probably might have picked this up in high school or in your intro class in college, but in general, psychology is about the study of human behavior. Basically, there's two ways we have to study that. We can study it statistically, and we can study it qualitatively. I've basically been studying psychology using statistics, the quantitative method. What we do is we take a lot of data from a lot of people, and we make judgments about what the behavior is in the general population based on the sample that we have, based on the large number of people that we get to come into the experiments that we do. Oh, gonna cut through some trees. Ah! My bad. Ironically, in trying to look at human behavior in this way, we sometimes lose sight of the individual, which, is kind of what psychology is all about. Human behavior. While trying to identify what is the most typical human behavior and trying to average over the behavior of lots and lots of different people, we might lose sight of how individuals are actually reacting to the environment that's around us and how we're actually behaving. I've recently taken up a class in psychology and law that's really tried to hammer this idea out to me. And so, instead of the normal scholarly articles that we read, we also read a lot of court cases, which I think is really interesting. You get to read all about the story of one person, a defendant, and it's a really important story because it challenges the rule of law that's been held up to that point. I mean, you don't really get to see these sort of stories when you're doing statistical analyses on hundreds, sometimes thousands of participants who are in your experiments. You don't get the story at all. In a way, I'm kind of sad that I have to go this route of statistical analysis. I think the story is so important. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to incorporate law as a minor into my field of study. There are some really important issues out there in psychology that would relate very strongly to law. Questions like, how do juries make their decisions? One interesting thing is that in Japan, they've actually just incorporated a new jury system, where a jury of your peers decides whether you're guilty or not. Before then, in fact, as recently as 2005, it used to be that just a panel of judges from the Japanese courts would make such a decision. But now, very recently, the Japanese population is now making these decisions. Now, the one thing about Japan is that ensuring that your relationships with other people, even though you might not agree with them, need to remain stable. So one of the things that Japanese people hate to do is to speak their own opinion, because that can seem too forward. Now, you might already be one step ahead of me, but think about how this is going to work out with the juries. If no one's going to speak up, how's anyone going to make a decision? Especially one as great as, is this person guilty of this crime or not? It's a big deal. Anyway, those are just some of the reasons that I think it's really important to consider the individual in psychology. Now, don't get me wrong, it's really important that we have statistics in psychology to do our work. Otherwise, we'd be more of a discipline of ifs and maybes, and sort of hoping that individual cases could be generalized to the public. But I'm really glad I decided to pursue law in my career. So I'll let you guys know how that's going over on my other channel. Anyway, drivers, cyclists, segwayers, and otherwise, I'll see you later.